Are you looking for your dream home or all the latest lifestyle trends? If your answer is yes, look no further. Welcome to My.NA Property, where we explore stunning spaces, smart investment, and everything in between. Today we are coming to you live and direct from the city of Windhoek, where we interviewed the head of corporate communications, Ms. Lydia Amutenya, talking about the flash flood response. My name is Aina Raiza-Kweyo, and I am so excited to help you find your dream space. We are so excited to be kickstarting your morning with entertainment. Everything was happening during this past weekend.
Yes.
Exciting news.
Wow, no, she was killing it already.
In my opinion, I don't see anything wrong with him serving the full term.
As well as keeping you informed on the issues that you need to know happening in and around our country. Severe flooding has once again hit parts of Windhoek, affecting lifestyles, family, businesses, and daily lives. Today we are joined by Ms. Lydia Amutenya. She is the head of corporate communications here at the city of Windhoek, and we are going to be talking about response efforts. How are you doing, ma'am?
I'm well, how are you?
I am doing great. So let's get into our conversation. I understand that parts of Windhoek, particularly the informal settlements, have experienced heavy flooding. What are the names of these areas that have been affected by flooding, and to what extent is this damage?
Okay, that was the incident of the 4th of January when we received what we call is really heavy downpour in Windhoek, and then it has affected residents of Ochomwise, mainly those that are residing alongside the riverbeds behind Ochomwise's police station. Another family was affected on the side of Peter Enyes Nayemba, former Monte Cristo Road, just there by Havana, close to Havana. And that was mainly due to covered blockage. But the more severity was more onto the Ochomwise side, where we had about 11 houses completely washed away. And other affected households, they were close to 300. So yes, that is actually the incident. Luckily, we did not record any fatality or injuries, and we managed actually to relocate some of these residents to the new location. That was since the day of the incident. Obviously, the following week we started relocating those that were affected. Obviously, in various levels. I mean, if you are highly at risk, and those that are middle and low risk, then we go in that order, because obviously that land also needed to be ready on the other side. So, and that is a portion of Farm 508 where we put those residents there, and we are happy that they are out of the danger's way now, although we still have to relocate the remaining ones to the site.
Do we have a number of the people that have been relocated, or we just know that?
Now we can say we are around 130.
Yeah.
That is on estimation. I think last week we were at 120. And this relocation is it's kind of a daily operation now. So we do relocate people almost on a very daily basis. And that is due to the fact that not everyone was in Windhoek on the day of the incident.
Yeah.
And some of the people were still on holiday even when we started with the relocation. So it was important that we also gave them some time to obviously gather their things, especially those that were not
that were not around.
No, those that were not on too much affected, let me say that way, because as I mentioned, there were 11 whose houses were washed away, completely washed away, meaning the structures were destroyed. Those ones were our first priority because we needed to save lives. Obviously, we also have responsibility to save the properties, but it was important for us to move those ones first. And we are happy they are moved. Obviously, there are still those that don't want to move.
Yeah,
that's their
it's
right.
their home.
Yeah, their right. However, it remains our responsibility to protect lives, and therefore that specific site, although we are relocating people, even those that are still yet to decide whether they want to move or not, we are going to clear it. We will have to deepen the riverbeds as a strategy also to, discourage people to settle there. So the whole idea is also to make ways for the water so that when it rains and it's heavy, water can freely flow without endangering anyone. Yes.
Okay.
So we don't want anyone settling there. That's why we are clearing it. Those that don't want to move, it means they have other options. They can then opt for those options, maybe rental or whatever. We also know that some people actually have properties elsewhere.
Yeah.
So it was maybe another opportunity for them, but unfortunately it's very risky and we cannot allow that.
While we are still talking about this relocation, is this relocation permanent? Is it a permanent solution, or do these people, these residents, still have an opportunity to go back to Ochomwese, even if it's not in those areas, maybe other parts of Ochomwese?
I think what we need to understand is that this is a municipal land, and in the first instance when people took those pieces of land, they were not given by the municipality. So it's what we call land grabbing. So you took land without authorization. Now that the council has also been very lenient in to say, okay, because you're affected by the flood, we are going to move you at our cost, put you there. Somehow you can call it semi-permanent, if there's such a word. The whole idea is really to say, for now, we have moved you out of the dangerous way. And you are safe where you are on high ground. Where you are now, the new site is mainly first, we have two sites. One is reception area where people actually arrive there in tents. And obviously they can relocate now to the area where they are putting up their structure. Those areas are actually very close to one another. Reason why I'm saying it's semi-permanent is that you are sitting back to back with your neighbor. So it's not the same amount of space that you wish you want to have, but also we need to know and remember, be reminded always, it's an emergency response. So when you are in emergency, you don't negotiate. It's more like
you just take what you can.
Yes. Now, over time, you will definitely have to move or to shift one of you so that we each have your own space without being sitting back to back with one another. But that is now in the future. For now, we just needed to move you out of that riverbed.
All right. And apart from the heavy rainfall and perhaps people settling in riverbeds, what would you say are the leading causes to these devastating outcomes after, the heavy rainfall?
Again, it's the issue of settling everywhere, even in low-lying areas such as the riverbeds. And I'm sure there's no one who would want just to settle anyway. Obviously, it must be a situation, it must be that you are desperate and you need a place to stay, which we discourage, because in that space of desperation, it actually leads us to many other things. Over years, we lost lives through the flash floods. People were washed away from their structure. Those structures were erected on riverbeds. So it's land scarcity. People want pieces of land, but then because of that desperation, they put up their structure anyway. So, and also what we have picked up also is that some of our human, in our human nature, we have people that actually also just dump illegal waste anyway. We just dump. your waste anyway. We have picked up tires, car engines, blankets, car engines, heads, cow heads, everything. That is actually also blocking the riverbeds or the flow of water. Now, sometimes we don't really consider that our action might lead us to some of things like these ones. But I think as we're being reminded on a daily basis by the municipality and those that are responsible not to dump just anyhow, there are designated sites provided by the city of Windhoek where you can put your waste. For instance, in the informal settlement, we also have a provision of those orange skin containers. And we provide plastic bags to residents in the informal settlement to put in their waste on a daily basis. And obviously the city of Windhoek will come and collect those. Now, we know that's not sufficient. Maybe the waste we generate is more than that. But at least you are provided with that until such a time that your area is formalized and you are able to get a green wheelie bin that is collected still once a week by the city. So they actually have it even much better because the waste is collected like twice a week. In the formal area, however, because the impact is not just in the informal settlement. The formal area, we have issues of people not taking care of their structure. So you have a property that is probably leaking for some times and you have been putting it away and say, yeah, no, I will do it when I have money or I will make time for it. That leak was small and eventually it grows and it becomes big. You have properties that were flooded because the gutters are full of waste or debris. So you hardly go into your gutters and clean them up. We also have a situation where stormwater channels on the walls of those properties are blocked. So you have a situation where neighbors, because of issues, they don't talk to each other. They are then blocking the stormwater channels from each other's wall, and then when it rains, that water stands and it remains stagnant. And when it doesn't have anywhere to pass, it will eventually go into your property. So with that said, you can see now where all the fingers are pointing. It's human. It's our actions that are actually leading to that. And it's only us, human beings, that actually can change that. The weather, the rain is a natural thing, so it will definitely be there. Now we need to be able to find mitigating measures on how we can coexist. And also obviously just to make sure that our action don't cause us problems one day. If the viewers remember correctly, we had last year, June, up until November, the former mayor launched what we call a mayoral cleanup campaign. So that campaign was going from constituency to constituency. The whole idea was really to make sure that we are on par. We are cleaning up after our action, because it's under the theme, my waste, my responsibility. It's indeed our responsibility to clean up after our waste. Now, in that mayoral cleanup campaign, we did not just look at physical waste. We also had the river beds being unblocked, just to make sure that it's free from any obstructions. And that helps us a lot. But incidents like this are actually happening for us also to realize what we are not doing right as residents of the city. We may be taking some of these things for granted. It's very important also to follow instructions. The city has been issuing what we call flood preparedness tips since October last year. We usually do that almost on an annual basis before the rainy season starts, just to remind the public. We have certain riverbeds in the city that we don't cross when it's raining. And not only those, we definitely also realize that there are some new roads or maybe riverbeds that people need to take to be aware of, and so on. So in this flood preparedness, we are actually sharing ideas or information as to the do's and don'ts when it's raining. It's unfortunate. We currently lost members of our community through the flash floods that took place yesterday. Unfortunately, it's a life lost. But we believe that we can do so much better so we can prevent this from happening again. So we wish we can all just realize how important it is to work together, because what we have picked up also yesterday in various locations of the city is people crossing the danger demarcated roads.
Yeah.
You know, it's common knowledge that when you come to a certain roads and there is a danger tape put up, don't try to cross it.
Others will still try.
Yes, but we have people still trying it, really gambling with their lives. It's unfortunate that we find ourselves in such a situation like this, but we really need to take precautionary measures.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think you've answered two of my questions. You've spoken about, you know, what we as residents can do to mitigate the effects. We need to clean up after ourselves. You've also touched on how the city is responding in this crisis. You've spoken about, you know, the campaigns that you are having to educate people. Perhaps now we can touch on what the city's disaster risk management efforts are.
Yeah, that is actually part of it. Nowadays, disaster prevention or mitigation of disaster is more to educate.
Yes.
People need to be, you cannot just be resilient when you don't have information. So you are equipped with information, you are educated in terms of the do's and don'ts. So we are looking at preventative measures. It's no longer about cleaning up after the incident had happened. That's why we are preventing such type of things to happen through education and awareness. Then in case of really that emergency hit, the only thing that you can now do is to respond. But you can't just be at home, wait for something to happen for you to respond. That's why you are busy throughout the year. You are educating, you are creating awareness. And obviously when the disaster hit, obviously then our first responders then come on site to see what they can do.
Yeah.
And obviously the whole idea is to save lives and to save properties. Again, it's unfortunate, and we extend our message of condolence to the family that lost their loved one yesterday in that incident, unfortunate incident. Yeah, and we really hope that we don't get to record any fatality again in this regard.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm Tosi Shiombo, Chairperson of the Mayoral Residents Relief Trust Fund of City of Windhoek. We are here in the outskirts of Windhoek to come and donate food parcels for the residents of Windhoek that were flooded in Chomisa and relocated. We bought 158 parcels worth 100,000. Hence, we're really appealing to a lot of stakeholders to engage in donating to the fund so that we can help more residents. And we're not only going to give the food, we actually figure out to say, once you relocate a person that does not have access to the shops, we at least gotta put food on their table, but then we will come back with other, to come and meet some of their other needs, which is daycare that they've asked for, some of them that they asked for, and then they also ask for nail technicians, at least a bit of training. Some of them want to do hair so that they can at least be self-sustainable in the long run. So it's a very important cause, and everybody who wants to jump on the wagon, I think it's very important that we show love and be able to donate and help the needy at all costs.
In your opinion, would you say your communications effort have been successful? From what you have observed, maybe from the reports that you have done, and perhaps maybe you can touch on what strategies are you employing to communicate this information to the public at large, seeing that the city has diverse cultures. Are you communicating in different languages or just in English? Maybe walk us through your communication process.
Yeah, no, well, the city has various communication platforms.
Yeah.
And also the external communication or external medium that we use, like your TV or your radio and whatsoever that we have. Now, the question of effectiveness, I think it's also subject to how one interprets it. From your side, you might think you are actually talking to the people that are listening to you. there are those that are listening, because by now we would have had a lot of incidents of this nature. Somehow, somewhere, someone is listening. However, what we probably need to do more is to actually continue to do more. I mean, in terms of providing more information, creating more awareness. The thing is, especially with the car owners, I think what we have picked up is we undermine the water depth because of the size of the car that you are driving. And that is a big mistake that we usually do as people that are driving on our roads. With this rain, by now we know, in Windhoek it doesn't need to rain for 2 hours for the flash floods to happen. It can rain for 5 minutes and the riverbeds have had enough and they are overflowing. So whether you have a Polo, whatever is a sedan, or you have a 4x4 that is so high, don't try it. When it's raining and you see it's a low-lying area, don't underestimate the depth of the water and the strength or in the pressure at which that water is running. You don't know that. And you don't want to gamble with your life and test it, because the speed, as you might have seen on various videos of when it's raining, you see the water has so much power that it can actually divert the car from where it was going, and the car can just be floating. So that, I think that's the only thing that we need to again and again communicate to our residents. In other words, we also mention it that, you know, when you are crossing riverbeds, even when it's about to rain, you need to pay attention that sometimes it's not that when it's raining, water only start together and start flowing. No. Sometimes, especially in Windhoek, we have noticed that it can be raining in Katutura, but it's not raining in Academia. So while in Academia, you start seeing the riverbeds overflowing because of the rain that is raining somewhere else. So it's not that where I am, it's not raining and therefore I'm safe. So sometimes we just need to be careful. Take those precautionary measures because of the typography of how the Windhoek is, the landscape of Windhoek is. It's very unique, but in that uniqueness, we need also to find ourselves and take care of ourselves when we are driving and crossing the riverbeds. And not only drivers, pedestrians also. Now we have school-going children, it can rain anytime. So we need also to speak to them at home, tell them that when it's raining, don't try and cross the riverbed. It's not safe to do so. We definitely do communicate in various languages that we believe people speak and understand. It's never enough. Communication is a continuous thing. It's never enough. I don't think there will be ever a situation where you say, I've communicated enough and everything is all right. Remember, you have new people that are arriving in Windhoek all the time. You have visitors. So you need to continuously communicate because you are, again, might be talking to different people that are not very familiar with the environment.
Okay, and finally, what are some of the infrastructural developments or maybe long-term strategies that the city is considering to curb, you know, flood risk?
I mentioned earlier that we are deepening riverbeds because of the fact that when people start to put up their structure and the riverbed is becoming kind of smaller because we are occupying some of that space. Now, when we remove these people that are close to the riverbeds, we need to deepen it to make it wider so that water can freely flow there. We do a lot of unblocking of riverbeds just to make sure. Usually we do that in the preparedness of the rainy season, October, September, that is usually our time. And if there's any other place that needs to be cleared, that also is communicated to the city of Windhoek, and we get there and we clear that. However, we also look at, I think in the long term, there is also some projects and plans to look at some of those riverbeds that may need pedestrian bridges, so that you don't have to go through the riverbed, and probably also for the vehicle, like maybe, but that requires a lot of money. and it's a long-term plan. However, we are not folding our arms and say, well, what can we do? So in the meantime, we need to deal with what we can do in terms of awareness creation and talking to the members of the public like what we are doing right now.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, Miss Lydia, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and on that note, we will be right back shortly after the break. And that's a wrap up for this episode of My.NA Property. Keep dreaming, keep investing, and keep building your future. From all of us here on the My.NA team, it's goodbye.